Oh my God. Okay, we are live. I am so sorry that we're getting a late start this morning. But hopefully many of you are still on. And we had a special treat planned for you guys this morning, and due to technical difficulties, I don't think it's going to work. Okay. As you may be able to tell, I'm half of our amazing podcast. I'm Scott. Lori was going to be joining us from inside Disneyland, guys. So for those who are following along on our Instagram, you know that we're here. We're back in LA. We were here last week for the premiere. Hey, good morning, guys. Good morning, Mark. And good morning to Jennifer. So yeah, we were here last week in LA for the premiere of Survivor and The Amazing Race season 38. And we went to Disneyland on all 3 of the days that we were here in LA and had a blast. We got season passes, Lori and I did, and we decided we were going to bring each of our kids back for special trips. This is our youngest son, Robbie's birthday yesterday, October 1st. We're in the middle of our birthday season, and we brought him to celebrate. It was special, and we are back in the park. And Lori and Robbie went over early this morning to California Adventure. They were there for rope drop. They're on rides. We were going to have Lori join from her phone and do fun stuff, like she would mute herself maybe at times, but be able to join us for our podcast. But for whatever reason, her phone's not working. And of course, as never fails, when I'm not with her, technical stuff to work out, it just kind of is a mess. So I also was trying to get things ready for our giveaways so I could share screen, and that wasn't working. So I've got a backup plan for that. But yeah, we had some exciting things planned for this morning, and we're going with plan B. So super excited to have you guys with us. Please drop comments in the chat as we go along. We'll talk about different hot takes that we have about the episode. Season 38, guys, is just so fun. I can't wait to talk to you more about the European adventure as things are kind of unfolding. We're going to talk about all things related to episode 2. Mom's going to have the willies. I got to say, guys, watching episode 1 was fun. I mean, self-drive, back in Europe, back on The Amazing Race. Definitely a lot of fun watching the players shuffling of things because of the chaos of self-drives. But episode 2 felt like old Amazing Race. I don't know how many of you have been around from the very beginning with The Amazing Race, but this felt like old tar to me, and I think many of the fans would agree with me. Navigating train schedules, navigating the nuances. I mean, it's always fun to watch different flights and different things that you can kind of get on, but with this season and with trains, it just seems like that is all thrown out the window and even more fun. So I'm excited to talk about things. I've got my notes here on my phone, so we can talk about, that kind of stuff. Things seems that Jennifer agrees with me. Definitely, it feels like the older episodes. I agree. I loved it. So we're let's get right into it, guys. So Mom's gonna have the willies. That was our episode title. For those who were guessing, we're gonna do giveaways here in a little bit, but we're gonna talk about who got the episode title, and that was Tucker. Again, for those who are doing the drinking at home game, every time you hear "Let's go," Tucker has most people drunk, I think, by halfway through the episode. Definitely, I think a lot of fun with that game, but he also nabbed the episode title for Mom's Gonna Have the Willies. So we got to start from Amsterdam. They had to get to the main train station there, which Lori and I navigated quite a bit of time while we were in Amsterdam, in and out of that main train station. There's so many awesome ways to connect in and around Amsterdam. We took the train from Amsterdam up to Volendam. We took it to Edam. We took the train over to another area, more on the west coast side of things. But it's a great train station, great place to navigate things from. We had start times just in general, and we'll do more of this recap later when we do our panel recap, more of the details. But we had Jazz and Jack starting at 10:59, Eric and Tucker a minute later, 11:09, or sorry, 11 a.m. So I mean, we're talking right on the start of just neck and neck, right? And we saw that with the foot race at the end of episode 1. And then we see an hour later with Izzy and Paige starting. A bunch of people, seemed like there was a core 8 who are all kind of tightly grouped there towards the front. And even that tight group got shattered, which we're going to talk about. And then furthermore, that trickles out to almost 6.5 hours later, guys, with Megan and Matt and their start. It was fun watching anyone who's on Chat BCC. The entire season 38 family is on there. The cast, they're commenting. Last night they were commenting live as it was airing on the East Coast about all the chaos and craziness of things. So a lot of behind the scene information that they shared, kind of there. But it was 8 people all on a train together that was supposed to connect through Dresden, Berlin, I guess, and then Dresden. So that was Jazz and Jag, Eric and Tucker, Izzy and Paige, Christina Rabina, Natalie and Stephanie, Jack and Chelsea, Hannah and Simone, Joseph and Adam. So those were our first 8 teams to start, staggering everywhere from a 10:59 a.m. start for Jazz and Jag all the way back to a 1:21 start for Joseph and Adam. And then from there, Kyland and Taylor, Angela and Lexi, Kat and Alex, they all get about an hour later start, and almost could have caught that earlier train. In fact, I think Kylan and Taylor almost had it, but didn't quite get on it. So there was a second train was going to arrive into Prague, Czech Republic at around exactly the same time, 9:23 a.m. But of course, there were some issues that they ran into there. And then the third train, so much later than everybody else. Megan and Matt, they were going to have a scheduled arrival of 10:22 a.m. So crazy train schedule, so much going on. Apparently, this core group of 8, if you were watching last night, they all got off the train. Were you guys watching this? I mean, surely you were, right? Because you guys are Tar fans like myself. They said that they were having so much fun having a party on the train with these 8 groups because they haven't had a chance to really chat much, right? On the Amazing Race, something that you guys need to understand is that when you're in race mode, you're go, 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 right? There's very little downtime to chat with the other teams because when you're in the hotel stay, once a leg's ended, they cut us off, right? We cannot talk to the other teams unless there's something major that we have to hash out, and then they'll let us chat with another team and like hash it out on camera, but we have to like re-mic up. We have to have like the, cameras rolling. Like they will not let us talk, socialize with each other in between legs. And so unless you're catching another team at the plane, at the airport, or apparently in this situation at a train station on a train together, there's not a lot of time to socialize and, game and talk about different stuff. And so this team, or these 8 teams, I guess I should say, finally had a chance to like party it out and have fun and socialize with each other. And we don't get to see a lot of it. And again, because I think we're trying to get so much of race shown during these 90-minute episodes that we have. But they were partying so much together and socializing and having fun and, let's go, all that stuff that Tucker is helping us have fun with. And then they hear Berlin stop and they know they need to get off in Berlin. And so they all hustle, grab their bags, get off, and they're at the wrong Berlin stop, guys, the wrong Berlin train station. If you've never navigated Europe, you've got to understand in different cities, they're going to have multiple stops depending upon the different, places that you're trying to go. Exactly, Mark. They were at the wrong Berlin station. And they were told that info. Like they were told when they got their tickets. If you listened very carefully to the lady, she specifically told them which Berlin station they needed to get off on in order to make their connection with Dresden. So, number one rule in Amazing Race, you got to read the clue, right? Read the clue, read the information. But second off, you got to pay attention and you got to be listening for the information that people are trying to tell you. They're trying to make this race easier. You are going to be the one to mess it up. And we see it happen, right? They all get off in the wrong Berlin station. They panic because they can't find the platform they know they need to connect to. And guess what? There's a reason you can't find that platform. You're in the wrong train station, the wrong stop. So 3 teams figure it out, right? Actually, no, 5 teams realize, well, let's get back on the train. There's enough time in our connections that if we get back on the train and get to the right train station, we can get where we need to go. And we may still be able to make our connection. And they do, right? 5 teams that get back on the train is Tucker and Eric, Izzy and Paige, Christina and Rubina, Jack and Chelsea, Hannah and Simone. They're back on the train going to the right Berlin station. So good job. I mean, at least that's a smart strategy, I think, here, in at least get where you know you need to go. 3 teams went with a different strategy, and it's risky. We know where we need to go. Is there a way for us to get from where we are to where we need to go without getting back on that train station? Did this mistake on our part afford us a new opportunity to redirect, reground ourselves, reroute? They do. They get on another train, and they realize that by booking directly from the Berlin stop they're at to Prague, they can bystep Dresden and they can actually get to Prague directly and get in an hour and 11 minutes earlier. Huge advantage, right? An hour and 12 minutes when you're in race city is monumental. Unless you screw up at a challenge, having an hour head start on other teams can be a huge difference in winning the leg and losing the leg. For those who followed us on season 37, Amazing Race, we were on 3rd plane from Hong Kong into Osaka, into Kyoto. And it would have been the end of our race if not for the fact that there was an intersection coming. We were able to pivot quickly. We went from 12th place all the way up into 5th place at one point, and then all the way up into 2nd place after a detour. So intersection and detour played a huge help for us in those challenges to leapfrog ourselves up to where we finished in 2nd place on that leg. But for these teams, for Joseph and Adam to figure this out, to grab Jazz and Jag and Stephanie and Natalie, huge advantage for them to reroute and get into Prague by 8:12 a.m. So what did you guys think about that? Would you have gone with the strategy of getting back on the train, go to the right Berlin station, or would you have looked at making lemonade out of lemons here? Like you're in a bad situation, you're off the train, there's not an opportunity for at least 10-15 minutes, usually is how frequently trains are coming through. I don't know for certain, but if you've got to wait 20-30 minutes, do you check and see if there's new options here that you weren't thinking about before? But I don't know. What do you guys think? I'm gonna get a quick drink. I think for Lori and I, we would have been panicking, actually, I don't think Lori and I would have gotten off on the wrong chase station. When it comes to OCD, which is what I have, and ADHD, while there are constantly things that are distracting me and making me kind of evaluate the situation, that's the ADHD in me. OCD is like, follow the plan, like don't make the mistake. So I would have known 6 stops ahead when our stop was coming. I would not have let us get off on the wrong train station. So we would have made the train made the connections, but we wouldn't have had the opportunity to repivot in this situation, because if we hadn't gotten off on that wrong station, there wouldn't have been the opportunity to get in an hour earlier. So I don't know. Yeah, I agree, Mark. I think it was an excellent pivot. I mean, once you're all off the train, you've got to be evaluating the situation and figuring out what to do. What are our options here? I would have known, because of our experience on trains in going from Osaka to Kyoto with the bullet train. There's ways of checking train schedules. When Lori and I were in Amsterdam and we went and flew over into Switzerland and spent 3 days over in Lauterbrunnen and Interlaken and Zermatt, I was navigating those train stations all the time. And there's constantly every 10 minutes. Granted, I had my phone with me in Amsterdam and Switzerland, so I could do it on my phone, but the machines, the kiosks had the ability for you to check train schedules, check when, if I want to go here, what's my options? What should I do? Yeah, I agree, Jennifer. It was definitely smart thinking on their part. So they're in that airport. Go check the kiosk, guys. Go look and see what are our options here. What can we do? So at that point, we get 3 teams ahead. So we now have, I think, 4 situations going on currently. That lead train's getting into Prague at 8:12 a.m. You've got the other 5 who are going to make the connection in Dresden and get in by 9:23. You've got the 3 teams now, and those 3 teams I'm talking about is Kylan and Taylor, Angela and Lexi, and Kat and Alex. They all are making a connection through Frankfurt. And the Frankfurt situation would have, if they had made the connection properly, would have allowed them to get into Prague with that group of 5 that are connecting through Dresden. Situation for them was when they went to make that connection in Frankfurt, it rerouted itself. Based on what I was seeing on Chat BCC from Taylor, she said her and Kylan got off in Frankfurt. They're hanging out in that McDonald's waiting to make the connection. They regroup with the other teams. They thought they were by themselves. At that point is when Angela and Lexi, Kat, and Alex find them in that McDonald's. They're like, hey guys, you're here. So now they're 3 teams together. They go back to the train station to make the connection and find out the train that was showing as arriving on that platform now isn't showing that it's arriving. When you don't have your phone, you don't know when trains are changing platforms. So you've got to be checking with an agent at a desk, or you got to be checking a kiosk to find out what's happened. That happened to Lori and I when we were navigating the trains in Switzerland, where they would change platforms all the time. And if you didn't know where you needed to go, you weren't going to be in the right place. Come to find out, it wasn't a platform change as much as apparently this train just rerouted itself on its own, is what Taylor said. They thought, from what they heard this is what happened. Sorry. They talked with a bystander who said that train got canceled. And I think that did make it in the edit. For whatever reason, that train, maybe there wasn't enough passengers on it. It wasn't going to be running correctly. But it just didn't run. A section of it, the most crucial section of that route that they needed to make the connection in Dresden, didn't happen. And the follow-up option that they were trying to do, that was the one Taylor said rerouted itself and didn't even come through the station where they were at, apparently. So now they're spending 5 extra hours in the middle of the night, from what I understand from what Taylor was saying, rotating in and out of a warm bathroom to try to warm up at times because it's freezing. They're trying to sleep in a stairwell. Got to be the most exhausting night of their race so far. And I think it can speak to some of the fatigue that we see in these 3 teams later in the race, with how they're struggling with things, as it comes down to it. So they don't make the connection that they were hoping for. They're on a later train. Sure enough, the connections they finally get, we realize, is the exact same train that Megan and Matt are on, and they had a significant longer wait to the start of their race. And theirs seemed like a pretty straight shot. I was surprised with them leaving almost 6.5 hours later that they only are arriving into Prague, I think like at 10:22 a.m. Yeah. So 59 minutes after the other 8. Like, that's not bad. Lori and I, we arrived an hour and a half into Osaka from everybody else, along with Bernie and Kerrigan. And we were shocked to find when we got to the intersection, all the teams were still there. Not a single team had left that drumming challenge yet. We thought we were out of it. It was basically going to be a foot race for the entire leg for just us two. So an hour behind, you don't expect to necessarily see other teams. So for Megan and Matt to be walking along that train all of a sudden and walk into the 3 sleeping teams, and you see them, some of them with their face masks on, just trying to sleep. Like, this is the first time I think these 3 teams have had a chance to sit down and really like relax, because they were sleeping in that train station, and not sleeping, I guess I should say, like basically walking up and down stairs trying to stay warm, maybe. So yeah, Megan and Matt now are part of that last group of 4, and they're all heading towards this Zizkov television tower, tallest tower in all of Prague, Czech Republic. I keep wanting to say Czechoslovakia. That shows how old I am. Czech Republic and Czechia. Is that a new name for this country? I didn't catch. But they're going to go to this Zizkov television tower to get their next clue, and it's a roadblock. It's who wants a breath of fresh air. Okay, who's doing this challenge? For Lori and I think it's got to be me. We talked about on the race, we would want to try to give Lori a lead as much as possible. And what I mean by lead is if we're far enough ahead of other teams, even if we're still in the middle of the pack, but there's still a sizable lead as far as time goes, we would rather give Lori a 2 roadblock lead, knowing that we need to rely on me for more challenging challenges down the road. If it's a physical challenge, Lori can do it, no problem. She proved that with climbing the bamboo tower in Hong Kong. She proved that with dominating the rice in Bali. This girl, when she has an objective to do, she can do it, and lights out. So physical, she can do it. Performing, dancing, any of that kind of stuff, it's totally going to be her. When it comes to mental challenges, memory challenges, that's all me. And so knowing that that's going to happen at times, we're going to try to give her a lead. With 2 exceptions, I think I have to say. And I wish Lori was on the call because she could answer this more directly, but I think I know her well enough in almost 30 years. Eating. If it's an eating challenge, she can't do it. She has the worst gag reflex in the world. She's going to be dry heaving. She's going to have a hard time getting it down. That herring that they had to do for the hazard in Amsterdam for Jack and Enzo, I don't know if she could have done it. If I could eat both of them, piece cake, gone, done. Fear factor, easy peasy. But for Lori, fish, hates it, can't stomach fish. And I think she would have had a hard time getting that down. And the second thing Lori really struggles with is heights. I wish I could post a video. She'd probably kill me if I did, but we did the Ferris wheel in California Adventure, and we would have to beep some of the expletives that might come out of her mouth, because when it comes to heights, scariness, like it's a challenge. I'm glad you can relate, Nicole. I think it's fair. A lot of people struggle, with heights, and that's why heights are on so many different legs of the Amazing Race, because I think it's a predominant fear that a lot of people struggle with. So we get there. Obviously, it's the tower. You're looking up and you're realizing, okay, there's something to do. And the clues, the roadblock says, who wants a breath of fresh air? So I think in this one situation, although we would love to give Lori the lead, I think I'm doing this challenge. I don't have a fear of heights. I'd be in and out of there fairly quickly, probably similar to kind of how Jazz was when he got up there. So I think at this point, Lori and I are going to be 1-1 because I'm going to do this challenge. But watch our recap when we come back on later. Maybe Lori's got a different opinion on this. So in this situation, we see Jazz doing it. We see Adam doing it. We see Stephanie doing it. For those who are following along, Chad BCC. And if you're not there, you guys need to. It's a hilarious platform for the racers to share kind of what their perspective has been. It's been hilarious to watch Joseph's comments. He was sharing screen recordings of his dad, Baba, yelling, cursing at him in Arabic. I think it's Arabic. For letting his little brother Joseph do this challenge. And I watched carefully because I watched this whole lead up yesterday with what they were posting on Chat GPC. And literally it sounded like like the family thought Adam was forced to do it. And Adam, I think, threw a lot of gas on the fire by, commenting so much about your like the whole experience of things. Oh, wait, hold on. We got a comment here. Oh, Lori's on Preston's account from her phone. She's like, hey, it's Lori. You'll never guess what ride I'm getting on this very second as you're talking about heights. Yes, I'm on the swinging pendulum Ferris wheel at Disneyland. Oh, face palm. Okay, so this was the ride I was going to post video of from last week when we were on, and maybe she'll let me post it. Maybe we'll share it in the recap, or at least a segment of it. Maybe the most PG version of the video. Lori hates heights, and once her and her brother William and her mom, I think it was all three of them, were stuck on the very top of a Ferris wheel, and she was little. So there's some trauma associated with this too. So you got to understand that a little bit. But anyways, she hates Ferris wheels, but she's trying to conquer this fear. So every time we go to California Adventure, she still gets on, and she's not quite there. I mean, there's moments where she can sit up a little bit and maybe look a little bit when we're not swinging, like she can look out. But when we're moving, she's having a hard time with it. So I got a couple other comments here. Mark said, yeah, I appreciate that there were multiple stations. It helps keep the race moving. I agree. One frustration I've had before in leg design is when you get to this spot, and if it's a one and done kind of situation, you can really see a clog up or a bottleneck to the leg when you've got someone slowing down your race. And so it's frustrating. Fortunately, there is a rule. Some people don't know this. There's a 2-minute rule, which is once you stand up to make the attempt, if you don't initiate your attempt within 2 minutes, you have to get down and re-queue. And re-queuing can be the end of your race because now you're behind everyone else. You lose all of the advantage that you had up until this point. But I agree with what Mark's saying here. I love to see there was at least 3 stations that I counted. There may have been a 4th. I couldn't tell. But it was nice to see that because now you don't have somebody else holding up your race. Jazz in and out of there pretty quickly. Joseph struggled. Oh, what I was trying to get at, and thank you, Nicole. She was saying she's coming over here from Chat BCC. I didn't see it, Joseph. Maybe you'll have to point it out to me, but all this stuff you were saying about how, I'm sorry, Adam, you'll have to correct me. I agree with Joseph. Joseph's trying to defend himself and his life, apparently, because Baba's going to kill him. I thought Adam said he was going to do it. He jumped at the opportunity. There wasn't an opportunity there, I think, for Joseph to really talk him out of it, because Adam had already decided he was going to kind of do it. And I think the motivation there at the top about like, just walk, get going, was trying to motivate him to just do it. Because at that point, once someone's chosen to do the roadblock, you cannot switch. So even if Adam wanted to back out, or even if Joseph wanted to jump in and do it for his brother, he wouldn't have been able to. So Adam struggled with it, but still did it. I was proud of him. That was super cool. And then of course we saw Stephanie, rock star. Like, that girl got out there and just did it. She's awesome. Love Stephanie. So they get off, they get their route info that lets them chair. They're going to go to Krishnavniki Namaste. That was yeah, I agree, Jennifer. Definitely gained a soft spot for Adam and Joseph in this episode. Watching these two work with each other. Joseph's, of course, the older brother. Adam struggles with type 1 diabetes. I love that they're sharing that vulnerability and aware of that, talking about drinking the orange juice before going out there. These are things to realize, because when your adrenaline starts running for a diabetic, it's a different story. Adrenaline makes your circulatory system go faster, which makes your body use things quicker. And if you don't have the sugar that your body needs, and sugar is what the brain needs, it's what your muscles need, it's the most basic human fuel. And for diabetics, they can't store it well when they don't have insulin working very well. And so it's very easy to kill off your fuel fast, your available glucose that's in your circulatory system. And if you can't tap into the storage very quickly to get what you need after the fact, you can crash. You can get hypoglycemic very quickly. So it was smart to see Adam preloading with the orange juice, not because his sugars were low, but because he knew he was going to need it when he got out there. And sure enough, I think he did, because yeah, adrenaline's racing. This is race mode, boys. All right. So from there, they've got to go to this Krishnavniki Namaste area. They've got to find this likeness, situation. They're gone. They're an hour and a half of everybody else. They get to the detour. It's remember the chair or handle with care. I want you guys to chime off in the chat. Which one are you choosing when it comes to this challenge? 11 different. So remember the chair. Remember the chair is 11 different crests that are on the back of these chairs that you have to memorize from the diagram that's in one room. Go into another room, look on the backs of chairs for the exact same diagram. Then you've got to look at the other side of the chair for the name of a city, a town, something, in the Czech language. And luckily there's locals there that can help you with it, but you've got to reflect that name back correctly when you're asked to name all of the crests, in the order of the judge. So this is a memory challenge. This is a attention to detail challenge. This is a language challenge. Like, this felt like how Lori and I felt in Hong Kong with Sing versus Dance. I felt like dance was just dance and Sing was wardrobe, makeup, dance, and sing. Like, it was 4 challenges in once. So you get a little glimpse. It told you on the clue, and I screenshotted it. I'm going to show it in our recap. We get a glimpse of what the information is that they're told about the detour. And then there, of course, there's the whole extra page, the additional notes that you can look at. But anytime a detour, so this is my niche. If it's physical, beast that puppy out. There's an end, into the tunnel, light at the end of the tunnel. There's something objective that you can attain. Do that challenge. If there's multiple levels to a challenge, avoid that challenge like the plague, because you don't know what your Achilles heel is going to be in that challenge. For Lori and I in dance, apparently her dancing isn't dainty enough for the Japanese or for the Hong Kong culture. And so we got dogged for that. At one point, we weren't flipping our wrists right. So the, dance seemed to be our Achilles heel when it came to Sing challenge. We didn't choose dance, guys. We chose sing, and dancing is what was killing it for us there. So I felt like in this detour, a lot of teams chose remember the chair. And I think that was their mistake. They didn't realize the levels that detour was going to require, whereas handle with care. And it seems like a bunch of you are chiming off in the chat that, yeah, handle with care for sure. Yeah, handle with care. Handle with care. My memorization is shaky. Mine's not. I've got an incredible hey, all right. Alex is in the chat. Let's go. All right, Kat and Alex. I love you guys. I'm so excited what you guys are going to be on our recap soon. But yeah, if I'm getting anything wrong, if there's anything you can add, please do not hesitate to throw it up in the chat and like help us out here. But yeah, when I'm thinking of this challenge, I think for us, it's going to be handled with care. As frustrating as it will be to lug around a bunch of stuff to delivery areas, you've got 3 delivery spots. You've got not a memorization in place because you've got the order there already and you get to carry the order sheets with you. If you had to memorize the order and then you got to the location and you didn't have the right cups because you didn't memorize the right order, that would have been an interesting way to make this challenge maybe a little harder. But beyond that, yeah, Mark said, I love Alex on the show. You're a good race partner. I agree, Alex. You're doing such a great job keeping Kat grounded and focused on what the challenges are. So for me, I think it's got to be handled with care. Lori and I would do handle with care for sure. And I think more so because this language seems so difficult to master. And language is not a strength for me. I speak 2 languages. I actually only speak 1 language, English. I little bit know Spanish, only more for medical, because I use it a lot in the ER. And Lori and I are fluent in sign language, ASL. But yeah, aside from that, I don't speak a lot of languages. And so I think I would really, really struggle with the language part of, remember the chair. All right, let's backtrack for a second. At this point now, we've got a bunch of teams that are now showing up at that Zizkov television tower. Now we've got Tucker is going to be the one to do it for Tucker and Eric. We've got Jack that's going to do it for Jack and Chelsea. We've got Paige who's dominating that for Izzy and Paige. We've got Rubina that's going to bust out there. I thought I heard Christine say she was going to do it, but by the time they got to the top, Rubina was doing it. So maybe I just heard them wrong at the bottom, and Rubina was the one who said it. And then, of course, we've got Hannah's going to do it for Hannah and Simone. At this point, now we've got 5 teams up there at the top of the tower, and now I think we do have teams that are having to wait for other teams to finish. Okay, so maybe I'm not the only one there. Nicole thought she heard it differently too. But again, I think that, once it's decided, as long as you decide whether it's what the camera showed or not, as long as you make the final decision before you rip the split in the Who Wants a Breath of Fresh Air and read inside that little bifold that's sealed with a sticker, as long as you've decided in your team who's going to do it before you tear that, that's the final decision. So whether that's what was initially said when you first read the clue, but the final decision's the final decision. So in this situation, Rubina was the one who's doing it. So they get out there, they bust it out. But like I was saying, in this situation, I think we've got 5 teams, at least 3 stations. I don't know if there's 4. Maybe Alex can tell us. At the top there of the tower, Alex, was there just the 3 different planks, or is there a possible 4th one? We couldn't tell. And I think it kind of makes a difference here in these 5 teams that are all kind of vying for who's going to get out there first. And so, and I think just while we're on this topic, I'll also mention who from the other teams from the last 4 are doing this challenge at the top of the tower. So we've got Kylan decides to do it for Taylor and Kylan. We've got Kat who's going to do it for Kat and Alex. We have Matt who's doing it for Megan and Matt, and then we have Lexi who's going to do it for Angela and Lexi. I loved Lexi here. She looked so stinking cute. And maybe it's just I love her attitude and her excitement and enthusiasm racing with her mom, Angela. But I just really felt like it was an awesome experience to watch her just jump in there, do something hard. I don't think it was easy for her by any means. It seemed like she was struggling there. But just being the one that's like, I got to get this for us, Mom. I got to get out there. Like, we're in last place now. Like, I got to go do this. And, and then she did it. I was so excited for her. So at this point, and I thought kudos to Kat. No crying here. Struggled a little bit, but once she determined that she was going to do this, she was out, got the clue and back. And I thought that was super cool too. So yeah, they're all now on their way towards that um, I cannot say this, and this is how terrible I am with languages. Krishnavniki Namaste. So this was the character, this person that they're looking for, um, and lo and behold, on their hunt for this spot, Tucker and Eric find another clue box, and they're like opening the clue, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, pit stop! This is crazy! This is such a short leg. I thought for sure there would be a detour." Uh, yeah, there's at least two challenges, guys. I think there's almost a guaranteed detour in every leg. And if there's not a guaranteed detour, there's at least like two roadblocks, or there's like a roadblock and like um augmented, route info, where you've got to do an extra challenge to get the route info, but you both get to do it together. There's always at least two challenges. So to get into this point, be opening a clue and it's telling you go to the pit stop, you've got to be second guessing yourself. You've got to be looking and saying, hey, is this right? Did we go to the right place? Is this statue really the likeness of this Krishnaniki Namaste guy that we're supposed to be looking for? Spoiler alert, it's not. You're not supposed to be going to the pit stop yet. So they started heading towards the pit stop about the same time that we see the other three teams that are in the lead finishing up delivering of the glasses. So they did handle with care. Again, that was Jazz and Jazz, Joseph and Adam, and Natalie and Stephanie. And I think the situation here, Jazz and Jag were off to such a fresh start. They got that first check-in spot done before they ran into everybody else. And in fact, I think they were almost done with all three before Joseph and Adam and Stephanie and Natalie like connected with them. So I think that was, interesting. I again, you're out there in race for first. As much as you want to help other teams, you're also in a race still. So you've got to be careful in helping them, but not helping them too much, because you want to give yourself a little bit of an advantage here. And I think that's the detriment that Lori and I have, is we want to really genuinely see everyone do their best. And so we genuinely try to help a lot, and we have to learn to dial that back a little bit. And I think Jazz and Jag did a smart job here with how much information they shared, but still how much they were able to kind of get out there in the lead. So we see, Jazz and Jag make it finish the detour first. They get their clue that tells them to go to the Joseph Mana statue, and they get checked in. And sure enough, because this team, these trio of teams are so far in the lead because of that route change that they successfully pulled off to get into Prague an hour earlier, they all get to check in at the pit stop ahead of even Tucker and Eric, who bystepped most of the leg and checked in early. So we get first place is Jazz and Jag. They win a trip for two to Sri Lanka. We get Joseph and Adam in second place. We get Natalie and Stephanie in third place. And then we see Tucker and Eric arriving in fourth place. I agree with this. Jennifer said they were so excited it was already a pit stop. They were, exactly. So, and I also love that Eric picked up on it. When you're walking up to the mat, Phil is always smiling when he's excited to like greet you for you stepping onto the mat. When he's not smiling at you, there's one of three situations probably. I was going to say one of two situations coming. I'm going to say three. Number one, he's got bad news because you're going to be eliminated. Well, Tucker and Eric are so far out in front, and they got to that clue box and there were plenty of clues left. I didn't think they were thinking they were in danger of being eliminated. Second possibility, he's got some penalties to assign. So he doesn't have that smiley face when he's about to hand out some penalties, because he doesn't want to give too much false hope. He's like, sorry, you're yes, exactly. Phil was a displeased dad. You didn't follow my rules. You didn't do what you're supposed to do, guys. So when there's penalties to assess, he doesn't always have a smile on his face. Usually he doesn't because he feels bad for the teams. And 3, when you're not supposed to be there yet because you haven't finished the leg, you need to go back and do stuff. So in this situation, he tells them, you haven't done my detour yet. You need to get back out there and figure out what you did, what you messed up. And so sure enough, they went to the wrong place. But fortunately enough, they do know where they need to go. So when they finish the detour, essentially where the detour tells them to go is probably the clue box that they found. We know for sure it is, but in their minds, I'm thinking they know this is probably where we need to go. So we know the rest of this leg pretty easily. I meant to Google Map before I got on this, how close these two were together, but I did catch Eric's comment in the edit of, dude, you just asked the guy for a map and picked a general region. How do we know where we're going to find this thing? So whatever help they had to navigate to this area apparently wasn't detailed enough from the additional information, and caused them to find this random clue box. So all right, let's catch up with the other teams, figuring out what they're doing. We have Izzy and Paige, Christina and Rubina, Jack and Chelsea, Tucker and Alex, Hannah and Simone. So these core 5 that are in that second group all decide to do Remember the Chair. I think that was a mistake. Like we talked about earlier with my thoughts here, I think there's too many levels to this detour. And I think there would have been an opportunity for this group of 5 to maybe separate themselves a little bit here if 1 or 2 of them had chosen to do the physical challenge. Now, I do also understand the tendency here when you're opening this clue around other teams and you realize what they're doing. It's very easy to jump on the bandwagon and do the same challenge that somebody else is doing, because at least you can keep another team in your sights. When you're separating and going somewhere else, you don't know how they're doing. And it's hard for you to gauge, are we out of this? Are we still in this? So I do understand the tendency for teams to kind of piggyback or ride the coattails on other teams. But here, understanding the strengths of your team and knowing what you bring to the table, I think there could have been an opportunity for a team here, like maybe a Tucker and Alex, maybe a Chelsea and Jack, with and not dogging their ability to memorize. But I think the easier challenge here was definitely to get, the handle with care. Hey, we got another racer in the chat. Queen Taylor is here. Hey, Tay. So, perfect timing, Taylor, that you're here. I literally was just talking about how the way to separate yourselves from other teams when you're choosing detours is to make sure that you choose a challenge that caters to your strengths. I think you and Kylan did the right choice here. I think the easier detour was definitely Handle with Care. And I think you help separate your team from the other 3 teams in that backpack, with choosing the Handle with Care. And it helps you guys finish higher up in that 9th slot compared with the other 3, because of that. So good job on you guys. So at this point, things struggle. We're seeing lots of attempts at the Remember the Chair. A lot of funny things happening, a lot of people looking at the wrong crests, saying the wrong words. I do agree with the strategy that some teams did where you try to divvy it up. If there's 11 crests to remember, you do 6, I'll do 5. We'll get it, and that's on you and that's on me. One thing that I did notice that Christina and Rubina said in the chat BCC, they didn't bother to check each other. And you don't. When you've compartmentalized and separated the challenge into half and half, I'm just going to be responsible for my half. And so when you're getting to a point where you're struggling, and the other thing you need to understand is the judge doesn't tell you what you got wrong. He doesn't stop you when you get to the wrong one. So you don't know which of the 11 crests you're getting wrong. You just know you got it wrong. And it was just like the cheese challenge that happened in our season 37, where you saw Alyssa and Josiah struggling to use their express pass. when they probably should have used it sooner, because you just don't know which cheese you got wrong. And there's that thinking of, if I just get that one right that I got wrong, we'll be good and we're gone. And it may be more than one because you just don't know. Taylor's chimed in again. It was by far the easier detour, but also further run. And that's true. There's a physicality element here, right? She also is saying it's a completely uphill run. Remember, the chair was closer, so I get why after a long sleepless train ride, people were choosing it. So good. I wish I had mapped these things out ahead of this so we could kind of see where things were laid out. When you see something, if this detour is really close, let's go see this one. Let's go do that one. And then if we struggle, we can switch tasks. So maybe that helps some teams to say, hey, we're going to do this one instead. But yeah, I feel like you still have to piece together the possibilities here. And maybe some teams could have benefited by cutting bait and abandoning remember the chair and maybe doing the, other task. Cause I agree with you, Taylor. I think it was by far the easier detour task here. Hey there, Craney. It's Christine. So we got more racers in the chat. So yeah, Christine, Rubina, tell me more about this. Looks like we do have more before I could even ask. Christine's delivering. So Christine's saying, mind you, we were convinced we had our pronunciations. Yes, not knowing what was ultimately wrong was their demise. And the fact that they didn't check each other's work. And that's what I saw in the Chat BCC chat last night. If you're not on Chat BCC, guys, you should get on there. It's been fun to be in there with the racers. They're asking questions. They're involved with the fans. I think we're over 6,000 fans in there right now. Definitely room to grow. But it's been so fun to hear some of these little insights with, what were we struggling with here? What did we wish happened differently? What didn't make the edits? And I'm hoping to have a bunch of these teams on our panel recap where we're going to get to hear some of these extra stories with them on camera, talking about this kind of stuff. Because I think this is the excitement as fans as we watch the show. The 90-minute episode is amazing. It's a great segment of the show, but it's not all of the story. And so being in there, experiencing it with the racers and hearing some of this extra stuff is just so much fun. And thank you, yes, reminding us about this. They were going on 22 hours of no sleep at this point because of the whole entire train fiasco. So that's going to affect the brain, right? When you're mental, when the fatigue sets in physically, because of sleep deprivation, because of physical exertion, because of efforts, it can't help but exhibit itself in mental fatigue too. And so that's going to affect some mental challenges here down the road as well. And so that, as a racer team, is something you've got to be taking into consideration and, kind of thinking about. So, all right, let's move along. We see the very, very back of the pack. We got Kat and Alex. We got Megan and Matt. We've got Angela and Lexi. Super fun. Watching them all battle it out in the same place. I love that they all did choose so they can kind of see where people are at and see where teams and things are going. Taylor got another comment. I'm going to always go to my racers. They were experiencing this. I'm just living vicariously through them. So if there's any insights they can share, I definitely want to hear that. So Taylor's saying, mind you, when you see Rubina and Christine finish their detour, the back of the pack still hasn't even gotten into Prague yet. And I think that's something we don't get a real gist of when we're watching this, is what the true timestamps really are. Legs can run very, very fast, and also very, very slow. And if you're not paying attention to clocks in the background, which my friends on Tar Hub, if you're not on Discord, the Amazing Race Hub, it's a great place. Also, because they're so good at the details. They're dissecting these episodes down with like a fine-tooth comb. And so they're looking for the big watches on players to give us ideas of like where we're at with things. Clearly, Tucker and Eric could go to the wrong pit stop. The right pit stop at the wrong time. Go back and finish the entire detour task and get ice cream and fridge magnets and still finish in fourth place on this leg, guys. I mean, that's got to give you some context to just what is going on with shuffling of teams and the challenge of this leg. But at the same time, for us to understand, like, the people in that last group, right? We're talking Kylan and Taylor. We're talking Kat and Alex. We're talking about Megan and Matt and Angela and Lexi. Like, to know that they're not even in Prague yet because that 1022 train has not yet arrived is something we have to kind of understand in context. Like, as exciting as it would be for Kylan and Taylor to choose the right detour task and leapfrog like 6 teams, this leg doesn't play out that long when all is said and done, you know? And so that's an interesting, I think, thing to think about. Yeah, Nicole reacts to Taylor's comment about, oh, wow. Jennifer says, I thought it was really cool that people were cheering when y'all finally got it, Christine. Yeah, I loved how you engaged the people inside that restaurant area or bar or whatever it was. I love it when teams are engaging with fans and with the bystanders, the public, because it just makes for such a fun thing. And it's a great way to be able to play off of their excitement and enthusiasm to be able to like leapfrog yourself in the game mentally, like check back into it because they're excited for you. So, yeah. So Christine says, oh, I know, Jennifer. We were both sobbing that we finally got it, but then it was such a sweet, sweet moment. So, oh, I've got my kids. Nate's on. Love you, Dad. I've got Vocal House saying this is awesome. That's my son Jackson. Hey guys, good to see you. So I don't want to go too long on this because I definitely want to get to the giveaway stuff that we've got planned too. So I'm just going to kind of finish things up. We get again, like I said, Tucker and Eric finished in 4th place with ice creams and fridge magnets in hand. We get Hannah and Simone in 5th place. We get Izzy and Paige in 6th place. I love that Izzy, as a flutist, totally nailed who the composer was that they were trying to represent here at the pit stop mat. We get Jack and Chelsea coming in at 7th place. We get Christine and Rubina in 8th place. We get Kylan and Taylor in 9th place. Kat and Alex finish in 10th. Good job, guys. Way to go, Alex. He was in the chat. And then we literally have a foot race. And I'm going to say foot race with an asterisk there. These teams are so exhausted at this point. I don't think the physicality was there to really race. I think if they could run, they would have. They're exhausted, guys. They're tired. So it was more of a walking race, a speed walk, maybe. And Matt and Megan edged out Angela and Lexi. And we know that they edged them out because when Angela and Lexi walk into that ballroom, Megan and Matt are still on the mat there talking with Phil. So that was a close one, guys. It was hard for us to see Angela and Lexi go. Their team pink. We had to root for them. Lori and her one and only, when she was on Michelle and Lewis's podcast, she totally picked Angela and Lexi as her pick because of that connection, team pink, and they're from Utah. It's not the last we've seen of them. They're amazing people. They've already committed to coming on our podcast on a later episode. I think they're going to come on with us in episode 6. So tune in for us there. There's still going to be some great insights, some stories they'll be able to share with us. But yeah, super fun, guys. All right, let's move on to a few more slides. Let's talk about the giveaways. So for those who have participated, I want to give you a little bit of a hint. Those that are watching here live, this is your extra hint. There's ways to get multiple entries in our giveaways, and that's by following us on all of our different platforms. So if you've subscribed to this Lori's Fab vlog, this is our YouTube channel. This is what we use for our live Q&As. It's going to always be the same time, 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, which is 12 p.m. Eastern time, 9 a.m. Pacific time. It's always going to be the same time the day after an episode goes live. This is our effort to just get hot takes, get excited, talk about the episode while it's fresh, engage with the fans with the Q&A. We love this so much. So if you subscribe here, this is where we do the live Q&As. It's also where we're going to do our panel recap. So those typically will film on Thursday or Friday and then air the day following once I have a chance to get that video up. And so this is where you're going to want to tune in for those. With our panel recaps, we're doing current racers. So many of the current teams are going to be coming on with us as guests. We're going to have former racers who are going to come on and do stuff with us. And I can't wait to tell you about who some of those people are going to be. And then we've also got fans. We're inviting you, the fans, to come on with us and share your insights with us, how you would have done the race, because we just really feel like this panel is such a fun thing that we can do around these episode recaps, around this thing that we all love, the Amazing Race. So subscribe to us here. That gets you an extra entry every week when you do these votes. Also, if you follow Lori on Instagram at Lori's Fab Life, that gets you an extra entry. If you follow me on Instagram at Sigma Nu Elder, that's an extra entry. If you subscribe to our email list on lorisfablife.com, that's our website, that'll get you an extra entry. If you are on TarHub on Discord, that will get you an extra entry. And if you're on the chat BCC, that will get you an extra entry. So I'll have links to all of these in each of our videos that we post. So feel free to join us in any of those areas. Again, we love our fans. We love being able to interact with all of you guys. But I wanted to tell you all, the more places you follow us, the more ways you can get entries in these next giveaways. So let's start off. We had the question that went out and we only got 35 responses. I was excited that we got 35 responses. But this was the question of which team did we think was going to win this leg? We had 40% of you, 14 of you said you thought Tucker and Eric. And I agree, guys. I think they're a strong team. They were second place in the last leg by a foot race. I think the only thing that held them back literally was the fact that they have two packs, and Jazz and Jag, because I think they watch Racers Recap, are one bagging it. And so 7 of you said Jazz and Jag. 4 of you voted for Kylan and Taylor. I agree. Great team. And 4 of you even said Izzy and Paige. So we all know that the one that won was Jazz and Jag. And so those 7 responses, those 7 people, all got entries in our contest. And I was going to do this live, but because I couldn't share my screen properly here in the hotel, I pre-recorded this. So we're going to watch the spinning of the wheel and see who wins this giveaway. All right, we're going to shuffle the names. So I'm always shuffling the entries. So you see there, Aria had 2 chances to win. So they have 2 spaces on the wheel. Oh, barely. Oh, just edged it out. All right, Kelly Jo Newsom was the one who won this first giveaway. And so we're sending $10 out as a gift card anywhere you want. Just let us know where you want a gift card for, or we'll just send you a Venmo even if you want. But we're giving you $10 for choosing who's going to win this leg of the race. And so Kelly Jo Newsom, you don't have to be watching live. That's not a requirement. But we do absolutely love the fact that you guys follow us and participate in these votes. And so, yes, thank you, Kelly Jo Newsom. So, all right, on to our next giveaway. This was who we were voting for, who we thought was going to get eliminated. And 20 of you, 57% voted for Megan and Matt on this leg. And I think you were right to think that they had a disadvantage in this leg. They started 6.5 hours later than our front runners. They finished in the dark like Jack and Enzo did, right? In that last leg. And so I think it was a fair guess to put them as the ones that we thought were going to lose. We had 14% of you, 5 of you said Angela and Lexi, which you guessed correctly. We had 4 of you say Natalie and Stephanie. No, guys, they finished top 3. I'm sorry. They beasted this episode out. Proud of them. We had Kat and Alex. 3 of you voted for Kat and Alex. Now, I will say those 3 people, I'm not revealing identities, but Kat did say that she's unfollowing all of you and blocking you on Chat BCC for voting for her. So I'm just throwing that out there. Be careful about voting for Kat. She does not like it when you conspire against her, bitches. And then 3 of you voted for Izzy and Paige. So 4 people voted Izzy and Paige to win, but 3 of you were voting for them to lose. They did not. So yeah, sure enough, the 5 people that voted for Angela and Lexi were all people that come over from Chat BCC. So definitely getting a Chat BCC winner here on this one. Let's spin the wheel and see who wins this giveaway. All right, next drawing. A few less people, greater chances of winning. Let's shuffle the names. And again, if any of these people would have followed us on more platforms, more entries they would have gotten. Let's go. Who's going to win? Jen A. Alaska. Woo-woo. Jen A. I don't know if she's from Alaska or loves Alaska. But yeah, good job. You won $5 gift card to something or $5 Venmo from Lori and I. But good job to Jen A from Chat BCC. All right, last giveaway, and then we got an announcement to make. So for the last giveaway, this is another $5 gift card or $5 Venmo. This was who we thought was going to get the episode title. And a bunch of you, 8 of you, thought that this was going to be host Phil. I don't know if you thought it was ruined or spoiled. Somebody on Chat BCC said they thought when I threw this out as a poll for them that this was already spoiled. I didn't see it spoiled. I didn't see it air on any of the trailer stuff. But 8 of you thought Phil was the one that was going to say this. He did not. Also 6 of you said they thought Jazz and Jag one of them would have said it. 5 said they thought Kat. I think these 5 people may have been persuaded by Kat because she always said, I said it. She said that with episode 1's title. She said that with episode 2 title. I think she'd like to think she got an episode title. She didn't get this one. And 4 of you said one of Kylan or Taylor might have been the one to say it. It wasn't, guys. This was Tucker. Tucker was the one who said, Mom's going to have the willies as he was getting down off of that plank. Hilarious moment. So let's see who wins this giveaway. Now, what I do love about this one, this is a great example of how there were only 3 of you that responded correctly, but 2 of those 3 responses had a bunch of extra entries because they follow us on other platforms. So good on them for getting these extra entries. So let's see who won. $5. All right, last one. This is definitely proof that if you follow us on multiple platforms, you increase your chances of winning. Let's shuffle I didn't realize those names. I said it in the video. And see constantly who we have as a winner. Brianna Fitzpatrick. It's possible. Congratulations. Good job, Brianna. Okay, so those are our giveaways. We're going to do those at the end of our live Q&As every week. If you didn't get a chance to vote this time, we put the voting sheets up on Lori's Instagram page a day ahead of time. I put them in Tar Hub. I put it in Chat BCC. There should be a way for you to find access to our Google form where you can vote. And if you can always DM us if you miss it, and I'm happy to send over the voting sheet. I want more people to participate. We want to give away this money, guys. All right. With that being said, here's our announcements. This also comes at the end of each live Q&A. We're going to announce who we're going to have on our recap. So this week, I'm excited to announce joining us in that former racer slot is Jeff Jr. So for those who followed our season, we're really good friends with Jeff and Pops. And Jeff Jr. has agreed to get on with us and do this recap with us. I also have a really fun guest plan for the fan slot. He hasn't been able to confirm 100% that he's going to be able to attend. He's still waiting for permission from his wife. But I'm optimistic that we're going to be able to get him on. If we're successful here, he's huge, guys. He is one of the biggest fans of the Amazing Race that I can possibly think of. He's committed to his craft. He knows his stuff. And I really, really, really think that he's going to give us a lot of gold if we have the chance to be able to bring him on. But I don't want to formally announce him because it's not 100% sure. And I don't want to be the one who over promises and under delivers. But if it's who I think it is, it's definitely going to be worth tuning in. But if nothing more, just a chance to see the Lumberjacks. I'm confident that I can probably get Jeff to flex a few times and show off those arms for you guys. But either way, we're going to have a lot of fun really just dissecting this episode even more and talking about all things fun about Prague. So with that, I'm going to wrap things up. I'm going to get over to Disneyland and have fun with my family. If you guys are over there in Disneyland, please don't hesitate to stop us and say hi. I think we had 15 or 16 people stop us yesterday. It was super cool to take photos with fans, talk to them about the Amazing Race. Super, super fun. I did hear that Dancing with the Stars, they were there yesterday. We got to see Scott again from Pentatonics, and they're supposed to be back today. So we're excited to be able to maybe run into them. So watch my wife's stories on Instagram, Lori's Fab Life. She'll be posting all of that fun stuff. So love you guys. Oh, one more shout out before I go. Liv Swenson. She is one of my future daughter-in-laws, soon to join the Thompson family. Love Liv. Thanks for tuning in. And we love all of you guys. So thanks for tolerating me for the last 70 minutes, almost like an episode of The Amazing Race. So love you guys. Talk to you guys later. Bye.